We're at question 3b. You have a triangle here. It is a right angle triangle. The right angle is here. And you have an angle 67 degrees here. A side x and 30 centimeters is the hypotenuse. You should calculate x. So let's calculate both sides now. This is y. This is side y and side x. I want you to calculate both sides x and y. Remember, try with pause the video and try. Right? Try it before watching the video. Alright, you tried it. This is question 3b. So what we're trying to do is find the sides of the angle. I mean the length of the sides, I should say. We could also find the side of the angle here. Alright? But if we want to find the side of this angle here, we know that the 67 plus the 90 plus that angle, let's call it A, equals 180. So A would be 180 minus 90 minus 67. 180 minus 90 is 90. So 90 minus 67 is the angle there. I said 67, not 60. 67. We borrow 1 from 9, we leave 8. 10 minus 7 is 3. 8 minus 6 is 2. So that angle would be 23 degrees. Alright? So the angle A here would be 23 degrees. Suppose we want to find y. We consider the trig ratios. Now, we have the angle. We want the opposite. We have the hypotenuse. So, we use sine. Sine of the angle, which we have, is opposite, which we want, over the hypotenuse, which we have. Alright? So, sine is the most convenient one to use here. So, sine of 67 is the opposite, which is y, over the hypotenuse 30. And remember, the 67 is on the left and the side we want is on the right. So they are on opposite sides. So that's why I call it the opposite. Alright? So here now. If we transpose, we get y is equal to 30 times sine 67. 30 by sine 67 is what? Let's use a calculator for that. So 30 sine 67 equals 27.6. Call it 27.6. So y is 27.6 centimeters. Alright? So we get y as 27.6 centimeters. What about x? We have two ways of doing it. We could use Pythagoras theorem, or we could use cosine using the 67. Or we could use sine using the 23. Alright? So, let's see what's happening here now. If we use cosine of 67 is adjacent, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 30, we could transpose and get x is equal to 30 by cos 67. 30 cos 67 is what? So 30 times the cosine of 67 degrees equals 11.72. So we'll have 11.72 there. 11.72 centimeters. So 11.72. This is cm, this is cm. Alright? Let's get this out of the way. Now, here, we could use sine of 23, because the 23 is up top and the side we want x is on the bottom, opposite sides of the triangle. So sine of 23 is the opposite, which is x, over the hypotenuse 30. So x would be 30 times the sine of 23. We should get back the 11.72. If we get something else, then something is wrong. So 30 by sine 23. What does that give us? So 30 by sine 23 equals 11.72 again. Alright? So it's 11.72 again. Now, you could use tangent and say the tangent of 67 is the opposite, which is 27.6, over the adjacent 11.7. Oh no, over x. We haven't got x as yet. It would be x. Alright, so the tan of this angle is the opposite, 27.6 over adjacent x. When you transpose, you will get x equals 27.6 over the tangent of 67. Let's try with our calculator and see what that would give us. So what we have, 27.6 over tan 67. 27.6 divided by the tangent of 67 equals 11.72 again. 11.72 to 2 decimal places, alright? So again, we get 11.72. Alright, you could try it again using Pythagoras with the 30 and the 27.6. But anyway, let's move on. So that was part B of the question. Part C. Now, we have a triangle here. We have 70 degrees and 80 degrees here. Let me put in the arcs for the angles. We have alpha, angle alpha. We want to find angle alpha, and we want to find x and y. What is angle alpha? Well, we know that alpha plus 80 plus 70 gives 180. So alpha would be 180 minus 80 minus 70. 180 minus 80 is 100. 100 minus 70 is 30. So alpha would be 30 degrees. Alright? Now to get x, we can't use the sine equal opposite over hypotenuse, nor the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, nor the tan equal opposite over adjacent, because those apply to right angle triangles, and this is not a right angle triangle. Let's try the sine rule. The sine rule says the sine over the sine of the angle opposite to it equal side over the sine of the angle opposite to it equal side over the sine of the angle opposite to it. Alright? So here, we want x. So x over sine of the angle opposite to it is sine 70 equals, well, if we try the 30 and the y over sine 30, but we don't know y. So that wouldn't really help us. So it's better. We have to use the 15 and the 80. So the side 15 over the sine of the angle 80. So it's sine 80. Alright? So when we transpose that, we get x is equal to 15 over the sine of 80 multiplied by sine 70. What does that give us? we're going to have 15 over sine 80 by sine 70. So let's see what happens there. 15 divided by the sine of 80. And remember, your calculator should be in degree mode, right? Be careful about that. That is that. Multiply by sine of 70 equals 14.3. Call 14.31. 14.31 centimeter would be x. All right? So x is 14.31 cm. What about y? Let's see what y would be. So, sine rule again. Alright? So, y over the sine of 30 equals, and then you have 15 over the sine of 80. So y would be equal to 15 over sine 80 times sine 30 equals, what does that give us? Let's see. 15 divided by the sine of 80 equals, multiply by sine 30 equals 7.62. That's 7.62. So the side here, y, is 7.62 cm. Okay, good. So you have that. Let's look at D. Now, you have these angles. You have angle A, B, and C. You don't know what they are, so you can safely, well, you do not assume that it's a right angle triangle. You don't know. Now, suppose you try to use the sine rule. What would happen? You would say 7 over the sine of the angle opposite to it, which is A, equal 4 over the sine of the angle opposite to it, which is C, equals 8 over the sine of the angle opposite to it, which is B. Any two of these you put together, you're going to have two unknowns. You don't know the angle A, you don't know the angle B, you don't know the angle C. So you cannot use the sine rule. This calls for the cosine rule. So let's use the cosine rule to find any one of them. What do you want? Which angle do you want to find first? Suppose you find A. Alright? You say this angle, by the way, I should write the angles in uppercase, capital letters. This is A. Angle A, and this side small a. This is angle big B, and this side small b. This angle big C, and this side is small c. So A squared equal B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine of angle big A. Remember, that's one of the forms of the cosine rule. So here, A squared, which is 7 squared, equals B squared, which is 8 squared, plus C squared, C is 4, which is 4 squared minus 2 times B, which is 8 times C. Oh, by the way, pause the video and complete it. Finish it off. Alright, you did that. What did you get for angle A? Let us see. Times C. C, small c, is 4 times the cosine of angle A, whatever it is. So let's see now. 7 squared, 7 7 is 49, equal 8 8 64 plus 4 4 is 16 minus 2 4 is 8, 8 8 64. Alright? Cos A. So 49 equals 16 and 64 is what? 6 and 4, 10. Bring down 0 carry 1, 4 and 1, 5 and 1, 6. 60. No, oh no. Wrong thing I did. 6 and 4, 10. 6 and 1, 7 and 1, 8. 80. Right. Minus 64 cos A. Remember, do not subtract the 64 from the 80 here because the 64 is multiplied by something else. Alright? So here now, you can subtract 80 from both sides. So 49 minus 80 is equal to negative 64 cosine of A. Be careful to keep the negative sign and don't drop it off. 49 minus 80. What is that? It's going to be same as 80 minus 49 but with a negative. So 80 minus 49 is, borrow 1 from 8, you leave 7. 10 minus 9 is 1. It's 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 31, right? Negative 31. So here, negative 31 is equal to negative 64 cosine A. So when you, let's switch these and say negative 64 cos A is negative 31. If you multiply both sides by a negative 1, you're going to get a positive on both sides. So 64 by cos A, this look like 6 plus. It's 64. 64 cos A equals 31. So cos A is 31 over 64. 31 over 64 is what? So 31 over 64 is 0.484. 0.484. Right? We keep to at least 3 decimal places, and then when we get an answer now, we can round it off to less than 3 decimal places. So the fact is, cos A is 0.484. So A is cos inverse of 0.484. So we're going to find the cos inverse of that. So cos inverse of 0.484 equals 61 degrees. 61 degrees, right? 61 degrees. So A is 61 degrees. You see that? Was that what you got? Let's find another angle now. We could use the sine rule now, if we want, right? Because we have one angle. What we could say is 7 over sine 61 equal B, which is 8 over sine B. For the transpose, we're going to get sine B equals 8 times sine 61 over 7, right? So sine B would be what? Let's calculate it and see. What we would have is 8 times sine 61 equals over 7. 0.999, call it 1. And then the sine inverse of 1. Sine inverse of 1 equals 88. Close to 90. It's almost a right angle triangle. So, almost 1. So, sine inverse of, call it 0.999. Sine inverse of 0.999 equals 88 degrees. Alright? So we have 88 degrees. To get the third, of course, we just use the fact that in any triangle, the total angles add up to 180 degrees. So that plus 61 equals, and then 180 minus it is 30.69 degrees. So this would be 30.69. It's almost a 30-60-90. Alright, triangle. But that's it for now. I will see you in the next video.